It gives me good pleasure to introduce Tracine Logston at Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council. I'm proud that my daughter Amelia is part of this exciting group doing some cool things in schools throughout Fayette County. Unfortunately, she had a test that starts in about 30 minutes and couldn't be here today. So with that, Tracine, come on up, and Florence, she has the video as well after a slide or two. You want to check the video real quick? Just to come on up.
Thank you, Bobby. So I'm Tracine Logston with Fayette County Public Schools, and I'm happy to talk to any of you all at any time about what we're doing in Fayette County Public Schools and how we're improving sustainability in many diverse ways. In areas such as environmental literacy and solid waste and outdoor classrooms and energy efficiency and high performance buildings and greening up our schools and a variety of other things. But what I'm here today to talk to you all about, since we have some of our members here from the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council, is this coalition of high school students made up of our public and private high schools.
Sustainability means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability to meet the needs of the future.
Sustainability is based on the social, economic, and ecological factors that affect our quality of life now and in the future. We are that future generation.
The Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council is a coalition of environmentally passionate Lexington youth leaders committed to improving sustainability with excellence, innovation, and teamwork.
The Council is not only dedicated to promoting sound environmental stewardship practices, but also living into the ideals of Gandhi and being the change we wish to see in the world.
Not just here and not just now. We want to plant the seeds of sustainability whose fruit our children will reap.
We want to inspire action not just in our current high schools, but on the college campuses and communities where we will continue to lead and learn.
Our council is committed to coordinating and supporting student-driven initiatives, projects, and efforts while working together to make sustainable practices a priority and a social norm in our schools and the community at large.
In the interest of securing a better future for our environment and for generations to come, we will reduce our carbon footprint, become a greener school district, and a healthier community.
We will encourage our parents, teachers, administrators, neighbors, and community leaders to join in our efforts and allow us to play an important role in decision-making and leadership to promote sustainability.
Imagine a world where our youth's enthusiasm and leaders' vision unite to improve social, economic, and environmental sustainability.
We're the leaders of tomorrow, asking you to help us take action today. Join us.
Innovate with us.
Aspire and explore solutions with us. Teach us and partner with us now so that we may become the teachers for the future.
We will make a lasting change in our schools and international community.
We are empowered and equipped to make sustainability a priority for our schools. We are inspired to make it a priority in our lives.
So I'm not going to stand up here and talk the whole 5 minutes that we have. I'm going to give them an opportunity. I hope you were able to hear their mission statement because it's some really powerful stuff. The Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council is by far the best part of my job, though it really is mostly student-driven. The lifeblood of the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council are their project committees, and we have 5 of our members here today of a council made up of anywhere from 25 to 35 members from the 5 public and 3 private high schools. Many of you all in the audience today are already or have partnered or plan to hopefully partner with our Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council. Oh, I have my little clicker. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I forgot to remind you of my clicker. So, this is just sort of who we are. So as I said, the lifeblood of them really are those project committees. So these are the schools, and hopefully you're able to see that from the t-shirts worn from all the representative schools on their mission statement. So the 5 public high schools and the 3 private high schools. And so this is just a snapshot, a glimpse of what the council has accomplished just last year. This is really the 3rd year of the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council, so we're still very young. But last year they audited LFUCG Phoenix Building and Central Office. It's about kids support services. and that was Jimmy and Eric and Alop were on that council, or on that committee. And they visited these buildings, and they didn't just audit the buildings, but they provided very valuable feedback, both objective and subjective, quantitative and collected quantitative and qualitative data, went back to those decision makers and occupants and reported to them the observations that they made. So it's not about just getting into the community and making observations, but making sure that the change is happening. And that's what this council is all about. And that's what I hope that they want to see out of the council when they come to become a member of the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council. This is an opportunity, this is a conduit for them to put all their ideas and their passions together to make change happen and not just talk about it, and give them an opportunity to work not just within their green teams, which all of them of course are leaders in their own school's green team, but work with a coalition of students from across our county, with students they oftentimes would not have an opportunity to work with otherwise. Networking committee is working with our elementary schools and our middle schools. Our council is made up mostly of juniors and seniors, largely because of leadership capacity and transportation. Because these students are leaders in their schools, it is hard for us to physically get together. We get together physically once a month. We rotate among our 8 schools. Most of the work within the council has to happen outside of those monthly meetings, and so they're really on their own for a lot of that. I mentor them as they reach out when they need help, when they need connections, but they really are the ones who are doing the work and hitting the ground and making this happen. They partnered with the Nature Conservancy last year. They purchased and installed dual stream recycling receptacles for all of our outdoor athletic stadiums. They were just delivered and installed last month, and that was a committee that Haley and Millie were on last year. And Storm Drain Mural Committee, we had an artist from Bryan Station High School who created some murals for us for our storm drains, and we are right now in the throes of developing our project committees for this year. So a year from now I'll be able to tell you what they accomplished this year. Every spring in our short lifetime of 3 years, we have had an Earth Day celebration, and we have done this in partnership with Bluegrass Greensource, who is our most robust partner, and LFUCG, and to recognize all of our schools, K-12 schools, for their student-driven sustainability and improvements. Our first one was in 2012, and President Bill Clinton was their keynote speaker. 2013 was at Locotrace Agri-Science Farm. 2014, Ben Salee, local celloist extraordinaire, was their keynote performer and speaker. And this, again, is a student-driven event. This is something that they put together and they plan. They also have a Sustainability Expo and snack booth because local food and sustainable food has always been a priority for them. This is just a list of some of the recognitions and awards that they have earned over the last few years. And I'm going to let them take a few minutes, an opportunity to talk to you all. And I think we'll start out with Eric. Eric's just maybe going to say a few words, and I just asked him a minute ago if he would do this, so he hasn't had any time at all to prepare. But just give you all an idea of why he's on the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council, what he's gotten out of it, why he enjoys it, and why he's part of it.
So I joined my name is Eric Shong. I'm a senior at Paul Lawrence Dunbar, just to preface with that. So I joined the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council when I was a sophomore, right after the Earth Day celebration with Bill Clinton, and it's really when it gained sort of traction and awareness in the community, because I thought Bill Clinton was here, this must be a great council, I want to get a part of it. So when I started, I was on this one committee called the Water Bottle Refill Station Committee, which eventually was able to implement about 2 water bottle refill stations per each of our 8 schools that are involved in the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council. And so when I first entered this committee, I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. We have to raise $20,000, we have to get all of this implemented, and I'd been in so many clubs before that said we were going to do these huge events, these huge projects that were going to happen, but none of them actually followed up on them. But the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council was different, and we actually were able to go through with these projects. And as I kept on going through the years, I learned mainly about proactiveness. And in this council, everyone is proactive. If you tell someone that we're going to work on this, many people will volunteer to take charge of it, and then go on like minutes after the meeting has ended and keep on working on these projects. So that's really what I got out of this, was the ability to be proactive and actually follow up on everything that we say that we'll do and what we actually do.
Thank you, Eric. Jamie, do you want to say that?
All right, so my name is Jimmy Chin, and I'm also a senior at Paul Laurence Dunbar. And Eric has talked about how we really got into the council and how we really got to know the council and why we do what we do. So I would like to talk a little bit about how the council has influenced my decisions for the future. As a senior this year, I have been thinking a lot about college, obviously, and what I want to do when I get into college and what I want to major in. And one of the things the council has really brought to life for me is how to marry a bunch of these passions that I have. For the past 3 years, I've had these 3 passions just floating around. I have business, economics somewhere floating over here, public policy floating somewhere over here, and then sustainability floating somewhere over here. And then really this past year, after I co-chaired the Energy Audit Committee with my good friend Eric, I really learned how I could take all 3 of these passions and merge them together into something that I really want to do. And now when I go into college and I'm doing my college searches, I'm really looking for a school that can offer me something towards corporate sustainability, so sustainability business practices. And this is what I have decided that I really want to go into. And this is just one of the many things that the council has been able to do for me over the past few years.
Hi, I'm Alap Patel. I'm a senior at Henry Clay High School. And as Eric and Jimmy have kind of touched on most of the things I was going to say, what I really like about being on the council is that it creates an environment where you can really say anything that comes to your mind, any idea that you have, and somebody will be there to support you and help you out with it. And like Eric said before, this is a committee that actually facilitates action and change. And so if somebody has an idea for something and it's feasible, we'll do our best to do it and accomplish that.
We'll be spread out among tables and we can talk to you more. Thanks.
Thank you. Well done. Wasn't that great? Appreciate it. Charlie Myers, where are you? Charlie still here? One of the Montessori programs. I thought he was, he may have. Are there any other students here today? If not, do what? Stand up if you weren't recognized and you're a student here today, please. Everybody's being bashful. You all are the key to our future and our future challenges, and we're so glad that you're here today participating. It now gives me pleasure to introduce Tom Goodell at WUKY Radio. They've been great at running a show yesterday or a news clip for us to help get the word out. So Tom? Thank you, sir.
Well, first of all, I have to say, having heard from these students from the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council and seeing how articulate they are, how passionate they are, I feel much more confident about the future than I did even 10 minutes ago. So,
agreed.
Wonderful work that they are doing, and I'm glad that they're involved with us as well. I'm Tom Goodell, General Manager of WUKY 91.3 FM. For those of you who are not from Lexington or from this area, we are the NPR station here in Lexington, and we're part of the University of Kentucky. I want to thank Amy Soner and Bluegrass Greensource for inviting me to talk today. Amy wanted me to say a few words about an environmental coalition that we've been putting together, a group of green and community organizations that we've been in the process of assembling since, I guess, back in June. It's been 2, maybe 3 years since at WUKY we started talking about hosting an event that we at that time called EcoFest. And we aimed high, we dreamed big, we wanted to bring Al Gore to Lexington to give a talk, we wanted to have musical performances and vendors talking about sustainability and presenting a variety of information to the community. And it made sense for us to undertake this kind of activity because of the kind of people who listen to public radio. Public radio listeners are idealistic, they're inspired by public life and culture, and they believe in the power of the people to find solutions to the problems that face us. In addition to that, in our own audience research, we found that 85% of our listeners buy green products. That's one of the biggest passions of WUKY's listeners. It's almost as big as the passion for UK sports. which was very impressive to me. But we quickly discovered as we tried to bring this massive event together that we couldn't do it by ourselves. We did, as a group, as a station, as a staff, start participating in a number of environmental events around the community. We were part of the downtown trash bash that you heard about earlier. We sponsored that, and we also went downtown and were participating in that event. And one of the things that we saw as we were involved in these and other events was that there was a lack of cross-promotion and coordination among the green and sustainability groups in Lexington. And we felt that there could be something that could be done to make a greater impact for Earth Day in 2015. So I sent around an invitation to about 20 different organizations that I knew about, people that I had met or people who were active in the community in green and sustainability efforts. And I invited them to a meeting at the Lexington Public Library back in June. I sent out 20 invitations. I said, if you have friends that you want to invite to join us, please do. This is the first time, I think, in my experience that I sent out an invitation to 20. I was worried that we'd have 10. We ended up with 25 people and 25 organizations at that very first meeting, and it's been growing ever since then. Part of our initiative was to go beyond. Bluegrass Greensource is one of our organizations that's participated with us, the Audubon Society, many of them, but we also wanted to reach out to other organizations in the community, including LFUCG and the Bluegrass Youth Sustainability Council, the library, the University of Kentucky, which has a variety of activities that are centered around Earth Day, around the environment, around sustainability, and also the city government, the Fayette County Public Schools, all of them trying to bring them together, and we've had great success with that so far. There was tremendous enthusiasm, and as we talk about the collective action idea, we very quickly came together on 3 goals. First of all was to coordinate and enhance the events that were already planned for Earth Day in 2015, but we also wanted to talk about cross-promotion and ways that we can enhance participation in all of these events. And then finally create and present a series of signature events in spring of 2015. And we knew we couldn't do all of this just on Earth Day, so we want to start sometime in April, and we will probably end sometime in May in next year. And just as we had dreamed big at WKY about bringing Al Gore, we had a lot of conversations about bringing a major speaker to Lexington for our Earth Day celebration in 2015. And it's not, as we went through these discussions, we realized that we just didn't have the time or the resources to do that. But we have continued to pursue having a major speaker come to town. Maybe not someone who you know by name, but people who are very important in this movement and in this activity. One of them is Dennis Hayes, who organized the first Earth Day in 1970. Another is the executive editor of the National Geographic, Dennis Dimmock, who does a fantastic slideshow on the environmental effects that they have seen of climate change at the National Geographic. So that's being planned for 2015. We are working on a signature musical event that will involve Ben Sollee, who you heard mentioned earlier. Ben is working with the folks who produce NPR's Mountain Stage to bring that show here to Lexington and to do an Earth Day concert in town, and also a film series that will be coming to the Lexington Public Library. So we're continuing to meet monthly. Those of you who are in town and who are interested in joining us, please see me, because we'd be glad to add you to the list and have your participation. And I would encourage those of you who are outside of the area to look to public broadcasters in your towns, because public radio has the power to convene partnerships, bring people together that you might not be able to reach otherwise. And I would encourage you to make that part of your mix as you put your activities together for the next year or two. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks again, Tom, for helping us promote this event. Some of his reporters were here. I snuck out to do a quick interview for today, so we appreciate that support. The next speaker, Colleen Crum with the Kentucky Sustainable Business Council. I had the pleasure of meeting Heather Warman, who's head of the Kentucky Environmental Foundation that has started this initiative in Kentucky, and then later met Colleen actually at the summit this year in Louisville, and she's one of the hardest workers I've ever met, and glad to call her my friend.
big praise coming from Bobby. I don't know. I've called him before after 1 in the morning, and he was still working. So, my name is Colleen Crum, as Bobby said. I was very impressed today with the youth speakers. Thank you all for taking the time away from school to be here. I started getting really interested in the sustainability movement because my daughter and I, she was, I don't know, about in 6th grade or so, we decided we wanted to plant a tree in honor of a family member who passed away. And the next thing we know, 2 years later, she's looking at a Girl Scout project. And we ended up partnering with the city of Shively, which is a small community that we grew up in, south of Louisville, and we started planting trees in Shively Park. And she went and presented to the council members, and next thing you know, we were presenting to the city of Louisville's council members. And anyway, it's built. That's the thing I think everyone's probably in this room experienced. Maybe you started out with a little idea, and the next thing you know, like me, you're changing your career in order to get behind this initiative. So Brent and I've been very involved with the Louisville Sustainability Council. It's one of the avenues I've been able to put a lot of time and attention in. And most recently, and Bobby and I are on a committee together, the Green Economy Action Team. And it's very interesting to hear, I believe, was it Bill, one of the other speakers said, legislative changes can have an enormous impact. And my background is an interior designer, and I'm involved in the built environment quite heavily in my whole career. But I've never really taken the time to appreciate that statement for what it's worth. And one of the things that I am doing in order to better understand how legislation can have an enormous impact on the built environment and the sustainability efforts is with the Kentucky Sustainable Business Council. So the KYSBC today, right now, as I speak, is announcing our presence in the state of Kentucky. So this is our inaugurational event, right? So what we're going to do is Bobby, myself, and Heather Warman, as well as the Kentucky Environmental Foundation, who has a very large health assessment that just came out. It's very interesting. But what we're doing is we're creating this website. We are starting to get people to sign up to join and get in our database. We had our first member. I just saw their form filled out in the back, whoever that was. I haven't read it yet. It was very cool. But what we're going to do, the KYSBC, if you all are familiar with the ASBC, the American Sustainable Business Council. Now that's a national organization that advocates, educates on sustainability issues. So the KYSBC, like some of these other groups, is trying to work not just in one part of the state, but throughout the Bluegrass region to connect organizations, business leaders, individuals, to policy that's going on in the state that will have that impact that can change the environmental community. So before you all leave, if you'll sign up or if you'll email Bobby and say, I want to, get on the database, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having educational events throughout the state to bring policy leaders to individuals and organizations so that they can learn how to work together so that we can understand the impact that this environmental change can have within not just our own communities or our own cities or our own little, like Shively, sort of rural areas within the urban setting, but statewide. I mean, if anything that's happened today that's convinced me, Jason and I were chatting about it earlier, and when I experienced it at the Green Umbrella Summit, is when I left there and when I'm sitting here today is understanding that I'm not doing this alone, that there's like thousands of us that are doing it. And just last night I had a phone call from a student over in southern Indiana who's in political science because they don't have a sustainability degree at the school she's going to yet. And so she's having to sort of mix and match her education. So she's got a little bit of a biodiversity and a little bit of political science. And I think, Jimmy, weren't you the student that said that you sort of had this interest in this and you've turned it into this? I think that's what's happening to thousands, I'm talking hundreds, maybe even 200,000 people in the state of Kentucky. It's all happening right now. And I think that the more we attend and people host events like this, the more we're going to be able to understand the power that we're going to be able to have to reduce those carbon emissions. Brent, your numbers were staggering. How much environmental impact reducing power demand will have. And I see organizations and companies that are actually building themselves. I mean, I have a client that's looking at tax savings for enhanced cost segregation studies on buildings as a way to fund building efficiency programs. I mean, it's absolutely happening. So on the website, if you can look at it, we're developing it right now, and you'll see that we'll have points of place for you to get involved. And if you go to, instead of the home page, if you can go through and you can click on the next pages, you can see About Us, the second slide. If you click on that, you'll see the state of Kentucky and the counties that are in it. Some of you all have seen the 18 counties that one of the groups were doing. But what our impact, well, no, keep going to About Us, the top one. Yeah, there it is. So go hit About Us again. Just that, click right there. It should be active. So you'll see this is, this is all the counties. It's not just the city of Louisville. It's not just Lexington, although go Cards beat Seminoles.
Dangerous community if you say that in.
Not that I'm not a Cats fan too, but just not Thursday night. But anyway, so about the KYSVC, we're basically a sister. We're a state chapter for the ASBC. Okay, so Bobby and I are going to be in DC November 12th through 14th to participate in the ASBC's educational summit that's going on. We'll get a chance to go to the White House. It's going to be pretty cool. And then if you'll go to the issues tab for me. But what we're really about is trying to figure out what those issues are within sustainability that we can communicate to the rest of the community. So there's 6 different ones that we have right now. But if you'll go to under issues, if you'll go to the actions, we're going to have a secondary page, like under regulations, for example. Net metering is an issue that we're going to be talking about. So that's just one example. If we don't become more aware of the issues that will impede us, we can't do the legislation that's required in order to allow us to go through. And then my final comment is something that Brent was saying to me earlier about how important it is that we look at our partners like LG&E in Louisville, for example, not as, the organization that's not letting solar happen, but instead the organization that's really interested in reducing its, environmental impact. And so things are going to change. So things in Louisville are changing. It's not the same, leadership that we had 10 and 20 years ago. So the KYSBC is going to be the organization that tries to connect that. So anyone who's interested in being connected to it, we're going to figure it out together. Thanks.
Well done. And as Amy had said earlier, they're not an advocacy organization. This is specifically trying to take what already is doing and those active in sustainability and finding and presenting a channel for them to talk to their legislator, to talk to their congressman, to advocate for policies that are going to improve the environment. It now gives me pleasure to invite up Jason Dalam. He's my business partner in Midwest Clean Energy, and he's going to tell you about a new program that has started called the Kentucky College and University Carbon Consortium.
Hi everyone, how are you today? This is a really exciting initiative. I know a lot of people in the room. We work with a lot of you guys on a lot of different things. This event itself is a good example of what we do at Midwest Clean Energy Enterprise. We're a for-profit entity that acts like a nonprofit in many ways. Whenever I tell people our business model, they say, why are you a for-profit exactly? But we work on solutions in Kentucky. Specifically, we go out nationally, internationally. We find really cool financing options. We find new technologies. We find really cutting-edge expertise. And we invite them back to the state. And then we put them together with people like you and a lot of people we work with in the room to try to come up with really cutting-edge solutions for Kentucky that we can then scale and replicate throughout the state, all along the realm of sustainability. So we work in wind, we work in hydro, we work in solar, we work in biomass, we work in energy efficiency, and it's really exciting. And So thank you for coming today. We have been working in communities. We've been working in West Liberty, Kentucky for the last 2 years with a partnership to try to rebuild the town there in Eastern Kentucky as a model of what a sustainable, vibrant, economically 21st century Eastern Kentucky town looks like. And we've also been working in Louisville for the last 2 years to develop an eco-district in New Lou so we can show what a vibrant, very modern Kentucky city can look like in the 21st century. And along that spectrum, a lot of neat things happen. So what I want to talk today specifically is the Kentucky College and University Carbon Consortium. This is you guys are some of the first people to hear this in a public area. We've been working on this for about 1.5 years, very much under kind of the radar. And we were very excited that we have 4 pilot schools who are working with us on the consortium. We have Center College, we have Berea College, we have University of Louisville, go Cards, and we have Western Kentucky University. And the really cool thing about these 4 universities are we have 2 public schools, we have 2 private schools, we have all regions of the state represented. So we have Eastern, Western, Central, somewhat Southern. And we're using these schools to help figure out what could a consortium of schools who working together can do along climate change to not only educate themselves and share best practices, but also start to work with the other schools in the state, the technical colleges, the other public universities, and start really moving the needle in an extreme way. A lot of these things, I work on carbon, I've done a lot of climate action plans for universities, I work with a lot of colleges and universities. It gets politicized way too fast. This is a conversation about money saving. This is a conversation about repositioning our state for the 21st century, preparedness, and making sure that as energy changes, and it's changing really fast, we're ready for it. And carbon just happens to be kind of part of that equation. So that's what we're looking at. It's not to be an activist group, it's not to be a political group, it's to be a group that comes up with solutions that work for Kentucky. And the thing I like about universities and colleges so much, as we saw with the school students here today, is they will be the leaders of tomorrow. They will be the people in the economies of the 21st century. And so if we can, at the college level, start to prepare them for that, then we're getting those leaders ready with the skills that they need. So basically that's all I have to say. Bobby stood up, he warned me that he would tackle me if I went too much further beyond that. He's very good at keeping these kind of meetings on time and moving forward. And I'm excited to hear the conversation that's going to happen in just a little bit. So thank you for coming and look forward to the conversations.
Thank you, Jason. One of the projects that has kind of evolved through our work with the College and University Carbon Consortium is earlier this spring, Berea College and Center College had the first carbon neutral basketball game. Normally, only a handful of students show up to the sporting event, not like UK or U of L, where there's thousands of folks that show up. But once they found out that this was going to be a carbon neutral thing, and basically they paid for the carbon credits for the use of the electricity that night in the auditorium, there were hundreds of students that showed up and became on social media. People started talking about it. But that's an example of the excitement that's going on college campuses around the Commonwealth and around the country that we want to tap in what we're trying to do. So the next and really final speaker, before we break into or have each table take a few minutes to answer the 3 questions that we've left on your table, and then we'll have a report out. But our next speaker is Russ Clark. He is with the Bluegrass Bike, Hike, Horseback Trail Alliance and the Kentucky River Water Trail Alliance. Come on up, Russ.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. First slide. I'm with the National Park Service, Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program, and I've had the privilege to work with Bluegrass Tomorrow over the past 3 years on 2 very good projects here in Kentucky in the Bluegrass region. Why and how does the National Park Service get involved with local trail projects? Essentially, we are a community assistance division of the National Park Service. We provide technical planning assistance to local communities and nonprofit organizations to create local trail systems. Our mission is to help implement the National Park Service mission of outdoor recreation and outdoor cultural resource protection in local communities across America. And we do this through technical planning assistance. We provide free technical planning assistance that's tailored to the need of each specific project. And this is done through an application process, and all applications are due August 1st of each year, and our application is available online. Our vision for the future is basically a network of protected rivers, trails, and greenways that promote quality of life and link Americans to their local natural and cultural outdoor resources. And I want to emphasize locally. The Bluegrass Bike Hike Horseback Trails Alliance project is the first project I'm going to give an overview on. And for the past 2 years, very specific goals came forward through this project, and they were basically to extend the Legacy Trail north up into Georgetown and onward to Sadieville, to look at a public outreach process, educational process, as well as establishing a master plan of trail networks throughout the Scott County region and link into the Fayette County area as well. We also want to help aid Sadieville become a certified trail town through Kentucky Adventure Tourism. We did this through an alliance of partners, a large list of partners involving local officials at all city, county levels, as well as state and federal level, with specific outdoor recreation groups and activists, as well as universities. We started with an initial workshop back in 2012, and from that, the actual alliance was created of partners, and once the alliance of partners was established, the organization felt we needed to do an outreach through the various stakeholders, and so a 2-day charrette was held to identify possibilities for trail networks to satisfy the needs of all the various outdoor recreation trail user groups in the region. Essentially, we did the SWOT analysis, conceptual breakouts of different areas of this region, and then we did a second day, we did a follow-up of what those particular recommendations were into a compilation of one particular master plan. Next slide. With the help of the Bluegrass Ad District, they created a map showing the trails as recommended by the stakeholder groups from the charrette. This represented 200 miles plus of new trails in Scott County, linking into Fayette County's existing and proposed trails that also was an exceeding of 200 miles. So this region on the horizon and the vision as established is a huge network of trails connecting communities to natural resources. We were also able to take this particular effort and take it one step further. And I asked the committee to go out and do a windshield survey of these particular concepts to determine what may need to change to make it more feasible before it's presented to the public. And as a result of that, next slide, the folks from the Georgetown, Scott County Planning Department provided very good technical GIS background information for us and updated the map itself based on that windshield survey. And as a result of that survey, we came up with 35 miles of multi-use trails, 17 miles of hike trails, 98 miles of bike trails, 101 miles of proposed horseback trails, and 48 miles of blueway trails. And the Legacy Trail extension, another 17 miles, all recommended going north, basically from the horse park. This totals 316 miles. This is the vision for the future for Scott County. And these particular connections and trails extend outward in all directions out of Scott County into the greater region. And so we envision that this is the nucleus that starts in the Bluegrass, with connecting Fayette to Scott and to the surrounding counties of a major regional draw for outdoor recreational trails. There are 18 trailheads proposed in this particular concept as well. And so as we look at this in more detail, it was a cooperative effort between city officials, county officials, trail organizations, and the colleges themselves to look at how we can integrate various types of trails in the community and facilitate these linkages. We looked at the aspect of what we can do to help Sadieville meet its requirements to become a certified trail town. how we can enhance the Blue Wave that already exists as a water trail in the area, multi-use trails, horse trails, and trailhead facilities to bring that connectivity together so it can be a regional destination for outdoor recreation. We have to look at two alternatives to go around the horse park, and we have proposed two different routes, and we're working with the folks at the Kentucky Horse Park on which is the most viable, and both may be the end result of this project. We're also looking at how the Legacy Trail extends from the horse park north up into Georgetown, and that there are different types of trail segments. This particular portion is the first phase of the project. In fact, CDP engineers have done a very detailed study that identifies different alternatives, came up with a specific recommendation. That recommendation has been presented to the local officials, and the good news is that both the city of Georgetown and Scott County have agreed to put funds forth to match a particular grant application with recreational trails in process, along with other grants that be sought in the future. This is the first step of the process, the first step of the vision to go north from the horse park into Scott County and create this regional linkage. The biggest aspect of being able to ride horses in the bluegrass area is there needs to be more greenway trails for the horseback riding community. And so this vision follows floodplain areas and secondary roads, creating a whole series of loops to connect various communities in the county and reaching out of the county into neighboring counties to create a network that will be a regional draw, statewide draw, for future horseback riding here in the Bluegrass region. And in some areas we have to share the trails. We have restrictions with property and corridors, so there are 35 miles of trails that are shared use trails. We'll be combining hiking, biking, horseback together on those trails. So essentially the vision that's coming forth from Bluegrass Tomorrow is this for the future, providing all of these recreational outdoor activities locally throughout the region. The next project I'd like to give a overview on is the Kentucky River Water Trail. This has been an ongoing effort for the past 3 years with the Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program. The Kentucky River Keeper is the primary partner and is the focus of this particular effort. Next slide, please. And this project, like the Bluegrass Bike Hike Horseback Trails Alliance, is a large alliance of community partners. We have 10 counties, and we have numerous cities and various groups out there participating in this alliance. Next slide. 285 miles of river trail. Next slide. And started in March of 2012. Next slide. Each of the 14 locks and dams on the Kentucky River we have visited. We've provided specific sketches on how to port each of those locks and dams. Next slide. Same thing, next slide. We've also assisted with actual construction of access to the river for the kayak community. Next slide. Key point, we're trying to bring recognition with the help of Bluegrass Tomorrow that the river resource is something to value and it is something to celebrate. So this past August, the River Blast function took place and it was a very successful aspect to bringing folks to the river, and I believe it's intended to be a partnership between the Kentucky River Water Trail Alliance and Bluegrass Tomorrow as a continued annual effort. So we're out there as an organization to assist local communities to create these trail linkages, and we are here to help you in any way we can through this process. Next slide. This vision of making connections happen is what Bluegrass is supporting, Bluegrass Tomorrow. Next slide. So we are assisting with the Bluegrass Bike Hike Horseback Trails Alliance. This is going to move forward into other counties in the region, hopefully with new applications for additional assistance, and we're continuing to help with the Kentucky River Water Trail Alliance. Thank you.
I think you'll agree all our speakers today have been fantastic and gives you a sense of kind of where we are. Before we move in, transition to the next group, there's a couple people I want to recognize. As I mentioned, one of my companies is Sustainable Business Ventures, a 501c3 nonprofit. Florence, who's helping us with the AV, is Vice President of SBV and godmother to my daughter and a very good friend, former business partner in publishing. And I also want to recognize Tommy Norris in the back. Tommy is with the American Correctional Association Green Committee. I met him several years ago, and as I said, some of the programs that I've done, Green Entrepreneur has worked with not only youth, low-income 16 to 24-year-olds, but we've actually taught inmates in a prison, because when they can't get out, or when they do get out of prison, they can't find jobs, but they can start their own business and become tax-paying members of our society. So